Hello and welcome back, boat lovers. The weekend is over and I'm back in the boat shed. So this week I am working on the wheelhouse. First job in there is installing the sullage tank or black water tank, or if you like, the poop tank. So that's going to be built in as a fiberglass or plywood and fiberglass tank. And I will show you where that's going to go and the fittings that I'm using to put that in place. The sullage tank is going to run at this height from here right across to the other end of the wheelhouse, right back to there. So that's about 2 meters long, and I'm going to make it 600 wide or 2 feet wide. So as I've explained before, we have a lot of pump out stations along the river, which make it really easy wherever you are to just pull up, and it's free to empty your tank and give it a rinse with water. All the facilities are there. Nonetheless, there are some areas of the river where we go for a couple of 100 miles where there's no pump out facilities, etc. That's why I'm doing a reasonably large tank. I think it will be, okay, not sure. I'll let you know when I work out exactly how many litres or gallons that is. But that's what I'm working on. So first I'm going to sand all this floor, get it nice and smooth, put a layer of fiberglass down, and make all the sections of the tank. I have just purchased the fittings that I need, so I'll show you those. My name's Steve, and Millie the Wonder Dog and I are single-handedly building Dragonfly, a 53-foot or 16.2 metre flat bottom wooden riverboat, specifically designed for inland and sheltered waters of the Murray River here in South Australia. Join us each week to follow the mayhem and madness that go hand in hand with one man and his dog building a massive flat bottom wooden boat. Okay, so here in Australia we have quite strict EPA regulations, Environment Protection Authority regulations, and rightly so. Any grey water, that means shower, hand basin, needs to go into a grey water holding tank or through a chlorine filter, which will be my preference. But the black water, which is sewage, and waste from the kitchen sink, which can contain quite a lot of grease and that sort of thing, that's considered black water, and that has to go into a black water tank. In that tank we have a 40mm outlet connection to that one, and that will go from the top of the tank, so it draws water up from the bottom but comes out through the top. That way there's no chance of leaking. A lot of people put their fittings down at the bottom of the tank, but if you get any leaking whatsoever, you're done for. So I prefer the method of having a fitting that goes down through the top of the tank, and when we pump out, it draws the liquid up from the bottom of the tank. So that's my pump out. This is for my kitchen sink waste. It's 1.5 inches or 40mm. So that's going into the tank. And this is the poop inlet from the toilet. Now that will be pumped with a macerator from the toilet into the tank, even though I've designed quite a low tank, so it will be lower than where the toilet is. So again, there's no chance in any way of anything seeping back or running back. I know you can put in vented loops and things like that to stop any backflow, but I like the idea of having the tank being positioned lower than where the toilet is. So that's enough toilet talk. That's what I'm up to today. Get this floor prepared and make the pieces for the tank, fiberglass them all ready to put in place. Once they're pre-glassed, I'll put them in place, heavily tape, fiberglass tape all the corners, etc. Put some supports on the outside, get all these fittings secured into the lid, and then epoxy the lid into place. So I'm hoping that today I at least get the floor cleaned up and the pieces cut out. Whether I'll get them glassed today, I don't know, because it's already about 2 in the afternoon. My morning was taken up going to get more epoxy and these fittings. So, without further ado, let's get into making the poop tank. One last thing, that's my vent outlet for the tank. Obviously all tanks need to be vented, so this is a 15mm. So that will be coming out of the tank, has a little hose that runs from there out to the side of the boat with a little vent outlet on it as an air vent. Right, let's get into it. When I laminated the bottom of the hull, screwing everything together with screws about that far apart, few of the screws came through about 1 millimeter, just enough to feel the tip of them through here. So that's what I was feeling for there. I've marked those. I'll just grind the tops off before I sand and glass. So just a couple of little pointy bits sticking up, and if I don't grind them off first, it'll just rip the sandpaper to shreds. So that's the first job. Grind those little bits off and then sand everything and start measuring up and making things for the tank. Right, now just for those who'd like to know, I'm using Diablo 80 grit sanding discs, which are quite adequate for getting this surface prepared. Doesn't need to be any smoother than that. In fact, with fiberglassing, a little bit of roughness to the surface is okay. So, that's the go. Right folks, I've decided that I will do 2 layers of ply for the holding tank. So I'm going to laminate 2 lots of 12mm together, which will give me nice strong walls. I don't want any warping or fracturing of the tank, so I'm going to bit of overkill, make it really strong. So the first job this morning is to slice up some plywood sheeting, 300mm wide or 12 inches wide, and laminate those together. That's going to form the sides, and 2 layers also for the top of the tank. So that's my first job. Slice up some plywood and do some laminating. Well, as usual, that took 3 times as long as I expected, including knocking the saw bench over by putting a piece of plywood leaning on the outside of it, and fortunately it wasn't running at the time, but that fell over. I've got all that back together and it's working fine. And now I have all the panels cut out ready for the poop tank, so I will show you those. I've got them roughly in place. I'm about to have some lunch, and after lunch I will laminate those together ready for fiberglassing. So there we go, just got that loosely in place. As you can see, if I go up close there, we've got 2 layers of ply, so that's going to be 24mm walls. There is the lid ready to go on. So that's where the tank is going to go, right in the center of the wheelhouse. So as I've pointed out before, everything in this boat is structural. All the furniture, the tanks, everything makes up the strength of the boat itself. So again, we've got this tank being made in the center, incredible strength down the center there, and then there'll be boards running across this way as well. So that, just like the rest of the boat, forms this honeycomb structure of the hull. So it not only adds strength, but of course quite a lot of weight. With all that honeycombing along the bottom, it adds a lot of weight, keeping nice and low. Once this is in place, I have to do some more framework and put my side walls on for the wheelhouse floor, get all that put in place, etc. This is going to be the ideal space for batteries and any pumps and things like that. They'll be in here. Okay, lunchtime. Stay down, down. I'm at the bottom of the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. Time to get these clamps off, trim everything up, and start building this tank.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. 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 And I feel
Good morning again, boat lovers. It's been about a week since I've been boat building. I've been doing lots of other things around the house and a bit of garden maintenance and all that sort of stuff, and so the boat building's been neglected a little bit for maybe about 5 days. But I'm back in here now and I'm about to fiberglass the top of the poop tank and clean up the other pieces I made, the sides and the ends, and that way tomorrow I can get that all glued into place. I actually made a 2-layered top for the tank and made it too small, so had to redo that. Hopefully I can use that plywood somewhere else. But here's the piece that I've finished. So there's the top that I've made. I'll get all the clamps off that, give it a light sand, and then I'll put 2 layers of fiberglass on the top of that, and then that's ready putting into place, other than cutting the holes, of course, for all the fittings that are going in. So there's a couple of inlets, 2 outlets, one being the poop outlet and one being a vent. So I've got to get all those in place and epoxy, of course, around all the holes, but almost ready to put it together. So I'll get into that, and that might be it for today, because I'll have to let all of that dry before I can do anything else. Stay down, down. I'm at the bottom of the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. Thanks for watching, boat lovers. I hope you enjoyed this week's video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please give us a big thumbs up and remember to subscribe. Millie and I will see you again in about a week's time, where you can catch up on all the progress we've made building Dragonfly. See you then.